has just been, not good.
I'm so upset. Oh my God.
Well, hello.
Turks, Jake Ugernatic pairing with you guys. The legendary duo. Am I allowed to say that about ourselves?
I guess.
I guess, because I just said it. All right, so it's the online news show. So look, guys, lots of updates as usual. Lots of dramas, foreign policy, domestic policy. Dan Bongino, if the right wing is targeting him, could he turn out to be a hero? Is he yet? Oh, far, far from it. The exact opposite. But there's rumblings, fascinating rumblings. Okay, so that's among many stories we're gonna cover today.
I wanna start off with a random note, something that the British need to change about their accent. Okay, I understand that they pronounce things differently than us, and that's great. That's actually a wonderful thing, but there are a few sticking points for me. You can't pronounce the name Regina. That's just not okay.
Yeah, agreed. I like that we're getting to the important news first.
Okay.
And later we have Operation Joy for members, and even after that, old school, where you'll have nothing but that for 60 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, are you okay with controversy?
I'm okay with controversy, even aluminium, right? Which I feel like
aluminium is the funnest word in the world. Only when the British say it.
Only when the British say it.
And garage.
I like garage, it's fun to say, but Regina? I mean, don't do Regina's dirty like that,
okay.
Come on. Yeah. Anyway, you wanna get started with some serious news?
Yeah, in a minute. One more thing, Gavin Newsom, is he the new Trump? Is that a good thing, bad thing? Also discussed later.
Yeah, we're living in the worst timeline, really.
Speaking of which.
Let's start with this.
The few American doctors here are doing what they can to help Palestinian medical staff. A photo above Zainab's cot reads, Zainab the Queen. She suffers from a condition that means she needs special baby formula. Foreign doctors saying any formula they bring with them is confiscated by Israeli authorities, part of a wider 5-month blockade of the Strip. Images of skeletal Palestinian children like Zainab sparking outrage around the world, but Israel is casting doubt on claims of famine.
Well, what else would you expect from the Israeli government? Meanwhile, desperate to get sufficient humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip, Hamas has accepted a 60-day truce that's much more favorable to Israel, to be quite frank. And now the ball is in Tel Aviv's court. Are they going to accept this ceasefire deal? Spoiler alert, they won't. Here's more details on it.
From everything we know out of Cairo in particular, it is indistinguishable from the plan that Israel had in its hands and walked away from back in March 2nd, including a 60-day truce, as you said, the release of 10 out of more or less 20 living hostages and 18 bodies of dead hostages in exchange for around 200 Palestinian prisoners sentenced to life sentences or sentences longer than 15 years. That's what we know for now, and everybody's waiting on tenterhooks to see how Israel might respond.
So again, in sum, this would be a 60-day truce with further negotiations allegedly to make the ceasefire permanent. This was negotiated and put together by officials in Qatar and Egypt. It would require the return of the remains of 18 hostages who have died immediately in exchange for 200 Palestinian prisoners who have been convicted and sentenced. However, some reporting in Drop Site News provides additional details. For instance, Hamas would release 8 Israeli captives who are still still alive immediately, and then 2 additional captives on the 50th day, along with the bodies of the 18 Israelis who have died. Now, DropSite also references Al Jazeera's reporting on the number of Palestinian prisoners that Hamas wants released, which conflicts a little bit with the report that you heard earlier. So they write that Israel would free 1,700 Palestinians, 45 people who have been, convicted to life sentences, 15 long-term prisoners, and 1,500 Gazans detained since October 7th who haven't even been charged with anything. So I feel strange calling them prisoners. They appear to be hostages on the Palestinian side. Now, Egypt and Qatar again pledged to work against a return to war if no final deal follows the 60-day truce. But this is not written in the proposal. And Hamas has also dropped its earlier demand for a US guarantee for security, because keep in mind, Israel is demanding, and this is one of the sticking points, that Hamas give up its weapons, demilitarize. But if you demilitarize, that essentially ensures that the ball is entirely in Israel's court. They get to do whatever they want with no resistance. They initially wanted some sort of security guarantee from the US. I wouldn't have trusted a security guarantee from the US anyway, but it doesn't even look like the US is entertaining that, so they've dropped it. And according to the New York Times, the latest terms are similar to those that Israel had previously accepted, and they include both a temporary ceasefire and a path to an agreement to end the war, according to 2 diplomats and an Egyptian official who spoke to the Times. Now, mediators also agree. Qatari Foreign Ministry spokesperson Majed Al-Ansari, speaking at a press conference in Doha on Tuesday, said that the proposal Hamas agreed to was almost identical to Witkoff's. To Witkoff's previous proposal. Almost 98% of what has been agreed to by the Israelis was contained in this recent proposal. But it is unlikely that Israel will accept the ceasefire because they do not want peace. And I'll give you the evidence of that and what we've heard from the Israelis so far in just a moment. First, I want to go to you, Cenk.
Yeah, so I'm going to comment on the overall situation first and then get to what I think of the ceasefire. So number one, you saw in that clip there, the very end where of the clip where they say, but the Israelis say nothing is true. It's like, we shouldn't even quote the Israelis anymore. First of all, they have a near 100% track record of lying. So then what's the point of putting out something that's nearly guaranteed to be a lie, proven to be lies by every major press organization in the world, all their different absurd claims like, oh, we are not bombing hospitals. Oh, did we destroy almost every hospital in Gaza? So it's kind of like saying, well, on the other hand, the Germans say the Jews had it coming. But that's not an interesting thing to point out. No, that's not an on the other hand.
It's not worth printing.
Yes, yeah. I'm not interested in the German propaganda during World War II, and I'm not interested in the Israeli propaganda in the middle of this genocide, especially when it's been proven to be false almost every time. All right, number 2, like for you to understand the starvation that was shown in the clip and what Anna's referring to. So first of all, every day, we can't, if all we did was bring you the numbers, it would be so depressing. Yesterday, 54 people killed in Gaza. Today, it's 26 people killed. And it depends on how you're counting, because they're like, but because there's the bombs that they drop on them where they light them on fire. There's the starvation. Every day, 3 to 4 new people die of starvation alone. But one of the most startling facts that I did not know before, I found out today also from DropSite News, who's doing brilliant reporting on this, okay? The Israelis are killing the fishermen.
I wonder why they would do that. That's weird.
Isn't that weird? Why they have killed now in this conflict a record number of journalists, a record number of human rights workers, unseen anywhere else. In fact, the rest of the world combined has not killed as many human rights workers or journalists as Israel has in Gaza in this last year, okay? But also, they've now broken the record for number of fishermen that they've killed. Why? Because they don't want them getting food. It's not like they think they're gonna fish up some sort of weapons or rocket out of the sea. No, they don't want the Palestinians being fed because it is an intentional starvation.
And this is what makes Trump's obsessive quest for a Nobel Peace Prize so disgusting. Because even if he does what at the moment appears to be impossible, brokering a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, it still leaves the question of Gaza unanswered. And the reality of this situation is Israel would not be able to carry out the genocide it's currently carrying out in Gaza without the help of the United States government. Now, the American people in poll after poll are not in favor of supporting Israel in what it is carrying out. But the Trump administration has chosen to completely ignore the American people, including a huge portion of his own base when it comes to this issue. So you can't get a Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, it would make the Nobel Peace Prize a complete and utter joke. I mean, look, I think it was already a joke after Obama got it when he expanded Bush era foreign policy and even ramped up, the drone strikes that killed a ton of innocent people in the Middle East. But giving it to Donald Trump as he's aiding and abetting a genocide that has killed tens of thousands of innocent people so far, and that's an underestimate in Gaza, is laughable to say the least.
Look, we're the fairest show in America. Here, I'll prove it again. So if Trump delivers a two-state solution on an independent Palestine, and that gets peace as far as the eye can see in the Middle East and Israel and Palestine, I'll personally deliver the Nobel Prize to him. Okay, I'll do everything in my power to make sure he gets a Nobel Peace Prize because he would richly deserve it, and I'll fundraise for a statue of Trump. Okay.
Oh boy.
No, I don't give a damn.
I agree. Look, I agree, especially when it comes to this issue, right? If you finally have an American president who's willing to stand up to Israel and do the right thing, he would definitely deserve a Nobel Peace Prize for that. I don't think he's ever going to do it, though.
Yeah, there's only one president who's been strong enough to do that, and that's why the American media smeared him as weak. It was Jimmy Carter. Okay, he's the only one that got peace in the Middle East. So my thing is a giant if. Is Trump going to do that? He seems to have no inclination towards that. That brings me back to the ceasefire. So just yesterday, Trump is talking about, oh no, let's go slaughter them, and that'll mean the path to victory. I got it, dude. Netanyahu has something on you. I got it. Okay, so now in terms of this offer, well, what do you want? This was a complete, by the way, like they say 98% is protecting Hamas in some ways. This is a complete collapse by Hamas.
Yeah. Totally.
Hamas is giving in completely. 98% is as good as 100%. And here's the key parts. They've conceded on every major thing that Israel wanted. They say, yes, Israel can stay in the buffer zones in Gaza, so the occupation of Gaza continues. No, it is not a permanent end to the war, which is what Hamas was demanding. And no, you get no US security guarantees. So all it does is it gets some prisoners back. Look, that one, I don't, honestly, I don't care that as much about. Why? For a couple of reasons. One, I don't know their prisoners and I don't know what they did or didn't do. And number two is for the ones that Israel just grabs as hostages, the innocent Palestinians, they could just go grab more tomorrow, and they will. That's what they always do, right? True. They're terrorists, and I mean they hold 5.5 million people hostage. Just grabbing people off the street randomly is Israeli IDF 101. So they're just going to grab more hostages. It's not going to make a difference, right? Israel can keep infinite number of hostages. So the thing I care about is ending the conflict and Israel leaving Gaza. But they're not getting that. All they're getting is Israel gets more hostages back, and you get maybe a 60-day reprieve, and then the slaughter continues. And the Israelis say, no, we're definitely going to continue the slaughter. It's just a matter of when we wipe you out and move everyone out of Gaza and take it for ourselves. They've already voted on it. They're not unclear about it. So Hamas has totally crumbled here in negotiations. And we bring it over back to the Israelis. They said yes, and the Israelis are like, oh, damn it.
Well, okay, so first of all, I guess well played in that it does call out Israelis' bluff, and even the New York Times has no choice but to admit, yeah, it looks like Israel's getting pretty much everything they want. The ball's in their court. We're waiting to see what they say. They have not issued an official statement on the ceasefire offer yet, okay? As we are talking about it at this moment, they might afterwards, after we publish this video. But here's what we know so far. Last week, in an interview with I-24, which is an Israeli publication, Netanyahu made clear that he is no longer interested in a deal that would involve the release of only some hostages or hostages in, stages, essentially. That was, by the way, the same interview in which he made clear that he is absolutely a believer in the Greater Israel Project and intends to annex the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, potentially land that goes beyond that, encroaching on territory in other neighboring countries as well. So look, I need people who don't understand this yet to just finally accept it, to finally understand it. What Netanyahu and the IDF have been doing in the Gaza Strip has never been about saving the hostages. They see the hostages as the price that they're going to pay in order to take that land. If they cared about the hostages, there wouldn't be a 3-month blockade of humanitarian aid entering the Gaza Strip, which of course negatively impacts the Palestinians, who they couldn't care less about, but obviously also impacts the Israeli hostages who remain held captive in the Gaza Strip. They don't care about the hostages. And I think the Israeli people who took to the streets over the weekend in this mass protest have finally understood that. Now, in turn, by the way, Israel's Dogs in America followed suit with the same messaging that you hear from Netanyahu, with Steve Witkoff basically telling the Ynet Hebrew news site, no piecemeal deals, that doesn't work. Now we think that we have to shift this negotiation to all or nothing. Everybody comes home. We have a plan around it, he added without elaborating.
Okay, great, brother, great. Okay, but I'm super happy to do all or nothing. But that means Israel leaves Gaza. If Israel doesn't leave Gaza, what you're saying is, you give us everything we want. You allow yourself to be slaughtered. You allow yourself to be moved out. You allow Israel to steal Gaza, and that's our offer. Well, that's not an offer.
Right.
That's just saying, we're gonna do whatever the hell we want, and we're getting the idiot press to play along while we're pretending to do fake offers.
And Hamas, by the way, said that they are absolutely willing to release all the hostages in one fell swoop at once in return for a permanent end to the war. But Israel doesn't want that, and they don't care about the hostages.
And guys, there's no question about it. Everyone reports the facts the same, but what's fascinating is the framing around the facts, right?
Yep.
So the facts are, Israel is saying no to its own so-called ceasefire deal, and Israel is saying that there's no way they're ever going to let Palestinians rule Gaza again. And in fact, they voted with every single member representing Jewish Israelis in the Knesset voting to never allow Palestine. So they've said it 1,000 times. We all know what the facts are. They're going to steal Gaza, and they voted on it. They said, we are going to conquer Gaza, right? Now, the framing around it is American media going, but the Germans say that they're doing it on behalf of the Palestinians, and the Germans say that they have to keep the Jews in the concentration camps because that's what's best for them. And the Germans say that they have plenty to eat because not all the Jews have starved. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant the Israelis and the Palestinians.
So Netanyahu, according to the New York Times, has said, I hear the reports in the media, and from them you can be impressed by one thing: Hamas is under immense pressure. Well, I mean, this has been a lopsided, asymmetrical issue where you have Israel armed to the teeth thanks to the United States taxpayer, against their own will, by the way. And what do the Palestinians have? Do they have a military? Do they have the Iron Dome? Do they have the same defense capabilities? Do they have the world's military superpower, the United States, arming them the way that Israel is being armed? Like, it's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic when you have all of the advantages and you're like, puffing up your chest like some big tough guy, as if the fall of Israel wouldn't immediately occur if the United States pulled support from your disgusting country. Okay, that's the reality of the situation. Netanyahu feeling all high and mighty as he's like sucking up US taxpayer money to carry out this disgusting genocide in Gaza and the annexation of the West Bank. That's the reality of the situation. But look, I wanna go to one video, Jake, because there are some journalists out there who are paying attention, who are doing good work, and Channel 4 News in the UK is a good example of what I'm talking about. So in this interview, you're gonna hear from an Israeli spokesperson. He represents Israel's foreign ministry, and he's trying to rewrite history in real time, but the host won't let him. Take a look.
I want to see the hostages coming back right now. The only problem is we are not negotiating with ourselves.
But sorry to interrupt you. There were large numbers of hostages released after a deal was done, between you and Hamas via the Qataris and the Americans, quite some time ago now. We saw, hundreds of hostages, more than 100 hostages released. But there has to be a deal.
There has to be a deal. And for a deal, you need two to tango. Right now, Israel said yes to every proposal that was put on the table. Again, this is not me speaking. This is the United States of America. This is Steve Witkoff saying. This is the president of the United States saying, Hamas is not willing to budge.
What an absolute liar. What a disgrace. It is embarrassing that the United States government again is being humiliated and dog-walked by a foreign country. And by the way, in addition to the lies you just heard, you should know Netanyahu's office also said on Monday that the prime minister had spoken with Defense Minister Israel Katz and the Israeli military about our plans regarding Gaza City and the completion of our missions, meaning the full occupation of the Gaza Strip. And they're gonna do that by a ground invasion of Gaza City, which they've already begun. And Trump is encouraging this, writing on Truth Social that we will only see the return of the remaining hostages when Hamas is confronted and destroyed. The sooner this takes place, the better the chances of success will be. The only time the hostages were returned was during times of peace, when there was a ceasefire. The last ceasefire, by the way, unsurprisingly, was broken by Israel. They don't care about the hostages, Cenk.
Yeah, even if with this Hamas's surrender on the negotiations, even if Israel said yes and Hamas gave back the hostages in this deal, and it was supposed to just last 60 days, Israel could violate it at any time, and they always do. They break every ceasefire. So, like their word means nothing. That's why, guys, one of our members made a really interesting point on another show. They said, the only time the Israelis seem to get challenged is if it's an anchor with an accent of any sort.
100% true.
And that is, you're absolutely right. That's because cable news is also occupied by Israel, right? And so that one is a mystery to me. I don't know why. I know why the politicians are. That's AIPAC money, Israeli lobby money. It's clear as day. Probably some compromat in there. Okay, but the press is absurd. So, for example, to Anna's earlier point, Israel has nukes and Iron Dome. It's almost impossible to be safer. That's why there are Israeli soldiers now that are saying on October 7th, they told us to stand down. I don't know why they told us to stand down for 4.5 hours.
We know why.
Okay, so it's a nearly impenetrable country that can retaliate with nukes, and the Palestinians are down to stones. They just have stones left. They used to complain like, oh, they're firing rockets at us at all times. It's like pea shooters, Iron Dome shot down 99.8% of them. Okay, no threat to Israel at all, but they were like, oh my God, we're in existential danger. Did you know that one of us once got injured tripping while looking at one of the missiles getting knocked down? Meanwhile, there's 62,000 slaughtered bodies in Gaza.
An underestimate, yeah.
Yeah, and 156,000 that are injured, etc. Okay, so, but the American press looks at that and goes, the Palestinians are threatening Israel's right to exist, but Israel is not threatening the Palestinians' right to exist, even though Israel literally blocks the Palestinians' right to exist, literally and physically. So the American press is filled with almost complete liars that are all lying to you and trying to brainwash you on behalf of Israel with preposterous talking points. Oh, we owe Israel. Why do we owe Israel?
No, we don't owe Israel anything.
What a weird thing to say.
Israel owes the American taxpayer. They have been taking hundreds of billions of dollars from the American taxpayer to carry out its atrocities, okay? Let's just keep it real. By the way, Netanyahu has called French President Emmanuel Macron, who I don't have any love for, but Macron wants to establish a Palestinian state. And for that reason, Netanyahu has accused him of being an anti-Semite.
Yeah, of course he has. And by the way, again, like what you should do if you're a real reporter who's objective is say, look, that's absurd. This is a guy who's committing a genocide now. His word has no weight at all, and he's a deep bigot who obviously thinks that Palestinian lives are worthless. He believes in Jewish supremacy, and that's why he says God owes him greater Israel. America owes him $300 billion. All this is absurd, but instead our media does the exact opposite. They go, no, that's true. We owe Israel, and Netanyahu says it, so it must be true, etc. Okay, now guys, if you wonder why we get so upset about this story, so from time to time we get asked that. Number one, we have a genocide happening in the middle of our lives. So like, don't go to a museum to figure out what you could do in the middle of a genocide.
Yeah, with our
do
money.
it now.
With our money. With our money.
Okay.
I love how come you don't care about this conflict that's happening elsewhere in the world? Because we're not funding that conflict.
And I do care about it. I interviewed one of the leaders of the Uyghur people about the genocide happening in China to the Uyghurs, to the Uyghurs. And there's different pronunciations.
But your calls for deflection and distraction are not gonna work.
Yeah, but we're not funding the Chinese concentration camps. We are funding the Israeli genocide. So that's point number 2. Number 1, there's a genocide. You should all be animated. Number 2, they're doing it with our money. And they're saying that if we object, we're the hateful ones. You're an anti-Semite if you object to genocide. Okay, that's the latest definition. Ludicrous, insane, mental asylum definition. Okay, number 3 is the gaslighting. The gaslighting is unbearable. Poor little Israel's the victim of those monstrous, super powerful Palestinians. Oh, the Palestinians are oppressing the poor little Israelis. That's why they had all to be murdered and slaughtered. Their children are terrorists too. So the gaslighting is unbearable. So so much of it is mainstream media's fault. And lastly, guys, this is among the most important issue, and it's connected to money in politics. Do we control our own government or don't we?
No, we don't.
So this is not a small issue. Do we have sovereignty? Do we actually have a democracy? Is this America? Or did I accidentally immigrate to a colony of Israel? Like if you told my family, hey, you're going to occupy territory and the country you believe in, this hope and this dream and this beautiful thing that you believe in, it's just a joke. Israel controls it. If anyone in America disagrees with Israel, there'll come a time when they'll be arrested, denaturalized, deported, have all their funding cut, etc. No. I never agreed to give up American sovereignty. No one agreed to it. The only people who agreed to it are deeply corrupt politicians and our deeply corrupt media, whose job is to lie to you. And I'll add one last thing about Trump's statue. Give me a 2-state solution with an independent Palestine, and by the way, an independent and safe Israel. Okay, you get statues of you, right? You help them commit this genocide with our money, you also get statues. But all of your statues will be drenched in blood, okay? Because that's what you're doing. Oh, Israel, I'll serve you like a little puppy dog. And you'll be known forever, Donald J. Trump, as a bitch, as a guy who served Israel's orders like a dog.
Woof.
Okay, America first, my ass. Show me 1 ounce of independence from Israel and I'll believe you. But for now, I see the leash and I see you getting walked around the park, brother. And we all got eyes and ears and we all see it, including your own base.
Pedo watch when we return.
That's what I do.
All right, back during the break here. Art Guy writes in on TYT.com, the Australian government is getting stronger in their language, calling out Israel. Quote, strength is not measured by how many people you can blow up. Yeah, I know that because they just got called anti-Semites. Of course. The Israelis like, how dare the Australians disobey our orders? By the way, don't say we control the world, otherwise that's a trope. That's a trope. Get back in line. But don't say it. It's a trope, okay? We're gonna get to Kathleen Clark later. We'll put that into a story or no?
Sure, we can mention it.
Yeah,
for sure.
okay, because the number 2 Democrat in the House accidentally said genocide. And then today had to get on her hands and knees, put on a leash and get walked around the park by Netanyahu. And she's like, hey Trump, how you doing? Okay, and she had to apologize to the Israelis for criticizing their genocide. I'm so sorry, please slaughter the Palestinians. Did the check clear? And they tell me, why aren't you subservient to democratic leadership? Why don't you do unity with them? I mean, they'll crush Mamdani, right? They'll crush anyone who disagrees with them. They'll be servants and dogs of corporate and foreign government donors. But why aren't you loyal to them? That's the real problem. That, you progressives aren't loyal enough to disgusting democratic leadership. How's your 19% approval rating going, Democratic leaders? Morons. who's totally lost the country. Right now, you should have a 60-70% approval rating. If you were a real party, instead led by these fools and these corrupt idiots that lead the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I mean, the cowardice is incredible, especially when you consider where the Democratic base is at on this very issue. So.
You know what percentage of Democrats now approve of Israel's actions? 8%. 92% of your voters are against it. But Kathleen Clark and Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries can't figure it out. Which side is the 92%? Oh, where's the money? Where's the money, right? Eat the money, Hakeem. Eat the goddamn money. Okay, I hope the genocide was worth it. You cowards, you soulless cowards. Okay, Susie Greenberg writes in, they can slaughter the press all they want and try to control the narrative, but smartphones and cameras are everywhere, and they can't keep the truth from the public in this modern tech era. Susie, you're right. At first, I thought you were talking about the American press, but then I realized, no, you're being literal. This press in Gaza have been slaughtered. They killed 239 reporters so far. I mean, Committee to Protect Journalists can't believe it. They're gonna pass all the reporters ever killed in history combined, okay? Yeah. Because they're like, we love and are proud of what we're doing, but don't let anybody see it. Don't let anybody see what monsters we are. But we're the good guys, we're the moral army. It's a bunch of sniper terrorists. Pedros is like, the world is waiting for the US to take the lead when we know our State Department, like much of our government, has been politicized. Yeah, they're bought, they're totally corrupt. America is leading from behind Netanyahu's ass.
Ugh, it's so embarrassing.
Oh God, if you want to all right, anyway, Mark NYC says, this is the one time I can honestly say that Cenk is right when he says that he was saying it before anyone else. When he says he and Anna are the legendary duo. Fair, brother. Susie Greenberg says Anna slays in her lilac jacket.
Thank you.
Hard to disagree with that. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. Look, we got this great sponsor chapter. After you get past 65, everybody gets Medicare, and you usually have to use a broker to figure it out because it's so complicated. We're partnering out with Chapter because they're honest. They don't work for big insurance. They're independent and they work for you. So by doing what's right, they save people an average of $1,100 a year in savings. That is a lot of savings. And by the way, they're honest, so if you're on the right plan, they'll just tell you. Call them today at 805-201-2275, 805-201-2275. It's fast and it's free. They can review your options in 20 minutes. You could also use askchapter.org/TYT. All right, Anna, what's next?
All right, well, we got to give you guys an update on this Israeli suspected pedophile who was allowed to flee back to Israel without being prosecuted. So this story has two parts. We're going to talk a little bit about the US attorney in Nevada, who she is, why she basically let him go. But before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about an exclusive that Sagar and Jetty got over at Breaking Points. So, Sagar and Jetty over at Breaking Points has obtained the police documents from the Henderson Police Department pertaining to the Israeli official who serves in Benjamin Netanyahu's government. He's a cybersecurity expert. He was caught up in a pedophile sting operation. Now, we have more details about what he was attempting to do, how he got caught. It's an incredible story. So here's what the declaration of arrest from the Henderson Police Department says about the arrest of Tom Alexandrovich, again, an Israeli official who was allowed to fly back to Israel immediately after he was caught trying to lure a minor for sex in an FBI and local police department sting operation. Take a look.
You could see Tom Alexandrovich, the date and the time of his arrest, which was August 6, 2025. You will see that he was charged with luring a minor using technology. Some of the details, guys, here is that it's a classic kind of undercover sting operation run by the FBI Child Task Force and the Nevada Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. That was a joint operation that they launched on August 6. What we learn effectively is that an undercover operative began to pose as a 15-year-old girl on two different apps. One of them is called Pure, and later on using WhatsApp. What they found is that Tom Alexandrovich engaged in a conversation with what he believed to be a 15-year-old female juvenile and, quote, spoke about sexual contact with that minor. The user then later agreed to meet the decoy at a predetermined location. The sexual contact included, quote, bringing a condom and taking the decoy to Cirque du Soleil in Las Vegas.
So these details are important because it proves, I mean, now there's clear documentation that he is showing in that video, indicating that this Israeli official was in fact caught. He was in fact arrested, like the 7 other individuals who were arrested as part of the sting operation, but he was treated very differently. And we also have some clarity on the age of the decoy. Basically, he thought he was luring a 15-year-old girl to essentially have sexual relations with. Obviously, that's against the law. The Cirque du Soleil information is, all of it is just disgusting, right? Like all of it is so gross. This is how these people operate. But Cenk, before we get to more revelations of this arrest, what do you think so far?
I mean, look, we're all not surprised, right? We all know that that the 7 Americans were going to be in a lot of trouble, and that the 1 Israeli was going to escape. Like, are Israeli supporters pretending that they're outraged by that? Are they pretending that they didn't know that was going to happen? We all know that the Israeli was going to walk, right? And in fact, they probably know it so well. This is why, like, I think that if we don't do something about this, I don't know that they're doing it now, but if we don't do something about this, what we're telling them is any Israeli can come here, rape our kids, and get away with it.
That's exactly right, yeah.
I mean, that's just a literal fact, right? Because, I mean, I don't know why in the world we let him go. I mean, we all know why, right? But there is no technical reasons to let him go. Is there a bigger flight risk than a guy who was trying to rape a young American girl who works for a foreign government? Obviously, he's gonna leave, right? Who in their right mind would let him go? Who says, hey, we've caught 8 people trying to rape American kids. 7 of them are Americans, so they need to go to prison. But 1 of them is an Israeli, so he should obviously be freed.
Crazy.
I mean, that's just and this country is not Romania, or Israel. This country is America.
Right.
So if you're an American, you're in a lot of trouble, and you should be. If you're an Israeli, get out of jail free card. In fact, it's not just about pedophilia, guys. Then Israelis can come here for sexual tourism, for criminal tourism. They can come in, they can just come and take your goddamn, they could just take
do whatever they want.
They could do whatever they want to Americans.
That's the message.
And just leave.
That's the message being sent. And by the way, we're just scratching the surface here, because what this guy was involved in professionally while he was in the United States is very problematic, especially given Israel's history of spying on America and Americans. So with that in mind, let's go to the next clip where the FBI and the Henderson Police Department ensured that they got this guy to identify himself. That's an important part of the sting operation. Take a look.
Prior to the meeting, photographs of the subject communicating with the decoy juvenile were obtained. The suspect advised they would be arriving in an Uber. Quote, while the undercover operative was in contact with the subject, being made aware in the area of the predetermined location, task force operators contacted this person who they knew to be arriving. Quote, every attempt was made to positively identify that user that had agreed to sexual contact. That subject was then identified as Tom Alexandrovich prior to being contacted. What they say is that Alexandrovich was placed under arrest. He was transported to the Henderson Police Department. Due to the aforementioned facts, they say they determined based on the undercover communications with the phone number and everything that Alexandrovich did indeed, arrive at this location with the intent to have sex. What then follows is an extraordinary interview with a lot of claims being made that undermine a lot of what we are now learning. So what they say is that, quote, upon Alexandrovich's arrival, he engaged in a recorded interview and he waived his Miranda rights, as they say very clearly. The interview was then conducted at 2000 hours on August 6, 2025.
Okay, so the interview is telling because he discloses quite a bit. How he behaves and what he says while he's under arrest is really fascinating. So just real quick, why don't we just go to the last video here, and you'll find out how he communicated, how he might potentially entirely skirt any consequences for attempting to have sex with a 15-year-old girl in Las Vegas.
He advised, due to being from Israel, the Israeli consulate would be notified. So do you guys see immediately they're talking about notifying the Israeli government? This matters because the Israeli government initially denied Alexandrovich had ever been placed under arrest, when the police department is saying here explicitly that he is, of course, being notified to the Israeli consulate. Alexandrovich stated he has a meeting with the NSA tomorrow and had met several bureau people and NSA people over the past week. So let me just underscore that. This man is here in our country on behalf of the Israeli government to meet with the NSA and with the FBI, and in the meantime gets caught up in an FBI sting operation where he is allegedly, I guess, for the legal record, trying to meet up with a 15-year-old girl for sexual contact. Stated, quote, he was embarrassed for being arrested. This is where things get very interesting, guys. Quote, questioned how much bail would cost while he was under arrest. Stated that he was in shock and someone he needed to contact immediately about his international flight back to Israel.
So the Israelis tried to act dumb about the arrest of this Israeli official, and it turns out they were fully informed about it. The Israeli consulate was informed about it. And on top of that, he also told authorities that he had already met with several FBI and NSA people over the past week. Alexandrovich was attending the Black Hat and DEFCON conferences at the Mandalay Bay Convention Center in Las Vegas. He stated that he was actually in the US quite often. 3 months ago, he was here for a crypto conference in New York City. He comes to the United States 2 to 3 times a year. He stated that he uses the name Adam to chat on dating apps, and he used the Pure app when attempting to lure the decoy who he thought was a 15-year-old girl. And so this guy is meeting with members of our intelligence community, and I'm very uncomfortable with that. And keep in mind, the Israeli agency that he works for hasn't fired him. He's on leave, and it appears that they're trying to provide cover for him.
Of course they are, of course they are. So look, if you wonder why we say things like whenever the Israelis are talking, they're lying, this is another great example of it. As soon as he's arrested, the Israelis put out this information. Oh, you got the wrong guy. It's a mix up in identity. It's actually an American with the same name. He doesn't work for the Israeli government at all. Meanwhile, you see the actual police report. They know definitively that he was with the Israeli government. In fact, he's the guy who is one of the creators of Cyberdome and has won the Israeli Defense Prize. They definitely know he worked directly under Netanyahu, okay? They're giant liars. So that's why quoting, we should stop doing it, ever quoting the Israeli government, because it's almost guaranteed to be a lie. Okay, now you go to the heart of the story. So all the authorities knew that he was talking to the Israeli consulate. So now we come to culpability on our side. So it's not like, oh, it was a quick thing, oh, they didn't expect it, and oh my God, they're dragnet caught an Israeli government official, and before they knew it, he was released and he was gone. No, the cops knew, all of the authorities knew, the FBI knew, the Israelis want him back. So, and he's a child predator, right?
Yeah, yep.
So they made an active decision to give him back to the Israelis.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That is exactly right.
So that is unconscionable. So look, sometimes this happens for other countries as well. You might remember famously after 9/11, all the bin Ladens were immediately flown out of America back to Saudi Arabia. Why do the elite get different rules than us? An elite of not our country, but of different countries.
Foreign countries.
So Bin Laden's in Saudi Arabia, whose family member did 9/11. Oh, by the way, also randomly, or maybe not randomly, several hundred Israeli spies were rounded up after 9/11 in America.
Oh, no, you don't talk about that. You don't talk about. I mean, there's FBI files about it that are readily available online, but we got to pretend like that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. You're being anti-Semitic.
No, it doesn't matter. It's a stone cold fact.
It is a fact.
And my question is, why did we return to Bin Laden's, and why did we return Israeli spies? If we know they're spies, why don't we keep them and put them in prison? They're spying against us. Who releases spies that they catch spying on you? So they could literally spy on us and get released. They could rape our kids and get released.
Yep.
I mean, Ghislaine Maxwell's dad stole our nuclear secrets and walked around like a dandy. I mean, what is this?
He was publishing textbooks for our schools, our public schools.
So look, the liars in mainstream media can say anything they want, but they know our facts are true. Right. They could say, yeah, your facts are true, but your facts are anti-Semitic. Your facts are true, but you should shut up and be arrested, right?
No, thank you.
Okay, no, I'm not interested in that. And now that gets to, oh, by the way, great job by Breaking Points. Way to go, Sagar, okay? Terrific reporting, and that's why online media is infinitely better than mainstream media. The mainstream media guys wouldn't, you know why they didn't get it and Sagar got it? Because Sagar tried and they didn't.
They barely even covered this story.
How do you not cover this? How is this not 24/7 on cable news?
This is a huge scandal.
Okay, because cable news and mainstream media is not in the business of doing reporting, they're in the business of doing propaganda. So they look at this same report and they're not outraged like Breaking Points is and we are, and maybe Tucker Carlson is, etc. No, they look at it and they're outraged at us. They're like, you're supposed to cover that up. You're supposed to cover it up for the Israelis. Anti-Semite, God damn it. Now we're accusing all of America of anti-Semites. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
And it's sick and it's gross and we're tired of it. All right, now last thing on the heart of this story. So Anna, you're right. We're working on cybersecurity with the Israelis?
That's such a terrible idea.
Are you mental? Of course they're gonna put in bugs to learn all of our secrets. And then when we catch them, guess what we're gonna do? Release them back to Israel. I mean, the Israelis are legendary for spying. They're legendary for betraying their allies. They're legendary for putting things in products that are either bugs or bombs.
Yes.
And we're letting them touch our cybersecurity, and then we have these nonsense conversations about, oh, is China getting someone's handle on TikTok? Did Russia do 4 million impressions on Twitter back in 2016? Meanwhile, Israel's like, we own you, bitches.
Yeah,
and everybody's like, oh, we're so sorry, Israel. And by the way, you don't have to be like, I don't know why people defend this. Why would, if you're an Israeli, why would you defend this son of a bitch? Like, I always use my own example. As a Turkish American, if you caught a pedophile here in America who's Turkish, I'd say, give that guy life.
Yeah.
Why? Why would I? Who cares about your stupid ethnicity? Are you an American or are you not an American? Okay, anyone defending this guy's a pig.
100%. We're not done with this story because we need to talk about the acting US attorney for Nevada who is trying to avoid any backlash, but she's very much at the heart of the story. That and more coming up, don't miss it.
All right, guys. Man, I get worked up on this show. All right, we're on Substack. Check us out there. And if you're already checking us out on Substack, you can send comments that I could read throughout the show as well, just as like we do for YouTube and tyt.com, etc. So check that out. This t-shirt's about the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. It's a Martin Luther King quote that I absolutely love. And so check that out on shoptyt.com. And also, we are going to get a lot of new merch on Palestine in a little bit, mainly to support Palestine, and all of the proceeds are going to go to the Palestine Children's Relief Fund. So we got to help in every way we can, and what I want people to do is to start wearing the Palestinian and American flag together. okay? So Palestinians are the best people on earth. Their endless slaughter should not be financed by Americans. I'm a proud American and I don't believe in genocide. I signed up for never again. Not never again, unless it's the Palestinians and the Israelis would like their land, okay? All right, Democracy Reboot Vanguard. Oh, by the way, one last thing. So look, guys, we take a lot of effort to make sure that we get the right sponsor for you guys. We turn down sponsors 24/7, okay? And it costs us a lot of money. So we're not perfect, but when we find folks who are good, we're trying real hard to find it, right? And to validate it. So if you're above 65 or you're gonna help somebody who's above 65 like I am with my parents, really check out Charter. I'm not, it's a good service. Again, if it's your plan is the right one for you, then you get peace of mind. It just takes 20 minutes, and if not, you could save, like I said, like on average $1,100. So askchapter.org/TYT is a good way to go, in 805-201-2275, 805-201-2275. I just want them to make sure, I want you guys to get the right service and for everybody to do well. All right, Democracy Reboot Vanguard says, Anna, love the blazer. If Israel's supposedly the most democratic country, why flatten all of Gaza with no regard for hostages? They brand Hamas as terrorists, but their own actions speak otherwise. To the world, Israel's assault resembles Khmer Rouge-style terror, and the US fully complicit, funding, shielding, and enabling every bit of it under the guise of defense and shared values. Yeah, I don't share the values of genocide and ethnic cleansing. No, I don't share Israeli values at all. Look, I don't know, at some point Israeli values might have been decent, but now I question that as well. But right now it's not questionable. Their values are disgusting because the overwhelming majority of Israelis say, keep going.
Yeah.
We didn't kill enough Palestinians. There's not enough dead Palestinian children. And remember, their lives are worthless, but their land is worth something and we want their land. I don't share those values. Those are disgusting values, okay? You're absolutely right about all that. And they're not doing any defense at all. They're doing nothing but offense, nothing but offense, okay? They're giant liars. Little Max says, Cenk saw you on Pierre's amazing job. You were epic. All we can do is try, but trying does matter. There is no gray area when it comes to killing and starving kids. I don't need a moral thesis from some philosopher to know not killing kids, not feeling it, okay? I usually emphasize when people write in caps. And yeah, it's not complicated. But Israel has to do a lot of voodoo propaganda to get you to think maybe slaughtering Palestinian kids is okay. What if we called them terrorists? What if we smeared all Muslims and said they're all violent savages and they have to be murdered by us? Otherwise, we don't feel safe. If I'm not murdering you, I don't feel safe. That's Israeli 101 these days. Back on TYT, Cenk, Anna, and whether we like it or not, Buzzkill has joined us. Okay, I'm playing around. Fun handle there, but yes, they did join by hitting the join button below. We appreciate you, brother. Anna.
All right, well, let's get back to the topic of the Israeli official who was caught in a pedophile sting operation and allowed to flee back to Israel. So, it turns out that the acting US attorney for the state of Nevada, the state in which an Israeli official was caught up in a pedophile sting operation that was carried out by the FBI and local police, is an Israeli-born individual lawyer who has ties to various Zionist organizations, including the Israeli American Council, which is funded by Miriam Adelson. I think that information is relevant because the guy in question here, the alleged pedophile who got caught attempting to lure what he believed was a 15-year-old girl in Las Vegas for sex, his name is Tom Alexandrovich, was allowed to go back to Israel. He didn't even miss his scheduled flight back to Israel. And now that he's in Israel, it's unlikely that he's ever gonna be prosecuted for it. In fact, the Israelis appear to be providing cover for him, even though he got caught up in this joint sting operation. Now, the FBI being involved in this sting operation is very relevant because you would expect the federal government to pursue prosecution. But they're not pursuing prosecution. In fact, Sigal Chattah, that's the name of the Israeli-born, Trump-appointed acting US attorney for Nevada, says the following in a statement. This is posted on X. Last week, Tom Alexandrovich was arrested in a Nevada Internet Crimes Against Children joint operation, and he was booked into the Henderson Detention Center. This important multi-agency operation targeted child sex predators who preyed upon the most vulnerable members of our communities. As a result of the operation, the Clark County District Attorney's Office is handling the prosecution. Why? So understand, this is essentially Sigal Chattah's way of saying, we wash our hands of this pedophile, this Israeli official who is an alleged pedophile. And we're gonna just allow the state to deal with it, even though we allowed this guy to fly back to Israel, which means extraditing him back to the United States to face prosecution and to face charges is already incredibly difficult. There are literally thousands of cases in which the federal government in the United States has attempted to extradite Israelis for crimes they've committed here in the US. And Israel won't play ball because Israel owns us. Let's keep it real. So why would we think for a second that the state prosecution, Nevada prosecuting him, would make it any easier to bring him to justice? It wouldn't. And I think that's the point here. So mind you, the FBI, again, was part of the sting operation, yet federal prosecutors are washing their hands of it. Why? Why would the FBI be part of a sting operation when federal authorities don't plan on prosecuting individuals who have been caught in the sting operation? And keep in mind, the crime he is accused of here, Alexandrovich, he is accused of a felony, using technology to lure a minor for sex. A felony punishable in Nevada by between 1 and 10 years in prison, in addition to fines up to $10,000. In Nevada, this is a category B felony, the second most serious type of crime after offenses that involve causing death or grievous injury.
Yeah. So guys, we've got a petition on to extradite this Alexandrovich guy. I'm gonna come back to that in a little bit, and the link is in the description box. But first, there's a hero in this story, and it is a Republican. And if we had told you about it 6 months ago, which I kind of did, no, I didn't. Certainly not specifically. You would have been surprised, and on this person, I would have been surprised. And Democrats should be ashamed for not talking about this at all. Okay, but let me first address Sigal Chattah. She was born outside the country, so what? I was born outside the country, right? And there's no harm in that. And Miriam Adelson is also an Israeli citizen. Okay, no problem. Some countries allow dual citizenship. It is what it is. Okay, but now, if I was the Attorney General somewhere, and then 8 people are caught, 7 of them are Americans, and I go, you guys, you Americans, go to prison, okay? You, Turkish guy, I'm gonna let you go. Would it be reasonable to question me?
Yes.
Well, obviously it would, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd say, well, that's an odd coincidence, right? You were a Turkish citizen, you were born in Turkey, now you're an American citizen, but you let the one Turkish guy go, even though he was trying to rape an American kid. Can you see how that arouses suspicion? And I would say, oh, I get why it arouses suspicion. And I would, if I were to do anything like that, which I never would, right? But there would have to be an extraordinary reason, and I would have to have that ready. And I wouldn't go like, oh, you're just being anti-Turkish. What? No, they're asking you a reasonable question. Like, don't hide behind you're being racist. No, you let a pedophile go. Why did you let them go? You don't need a little bit of an explanation for that. You need an excellent explanation for that. And then it turns out you're from that country originally, and you are bribed legally by someone who's a citizen of that country. Miriam Adelson and her husband have given $337 million to Donald Trump. They've given an infinite amount of money to the Israeli lobby and to endless politicians in this country. So, and then they say, and by the way, they demand that they work for Israel. And by the way, that's not hyperbole at all. Donald Trump himself has said, the Adelsons asked me to move the embassy in Israel, so I moved our embassy.
Yeah.
He's just admitting that he's giving away foreign policy to the donors of a foreign government. Okay, and then now is Miriam this time around gave him 117 million and demanded that he let America stand by as Israel annexed the West Bank. Okay, and Donald Trump said yes. Well reported in Israel as well as America.
Yep.
Right? So now you don't get to hide behind, oh, dual loyalty is a trope. When you are literally a dual citizen, you pay people to work for the other country and not our country, and you let their criminals go when they're trying to rape our kids. No, you don't get to make those claims anymore.
Yeah, no, I want to be 100% clear. Look, the whole thing about like, oh, it's a trope, you can't say it because it's a trope. If she is still a citizen of Israel, I think there needs to be laws passed that ensure that if you want to serve in the government, if you want to be a public servant to the American people, you need to be an American citizen only. Only. If you're a private citizen and you have dual citizenship, I don't really care. You're a private citizen. But if you're a public servant and you are in a position that is meant to serve the best interests of the American people, it is a conflict of interest to be a citizen of a foreign country in addition to an American citizen.
Can I just say one quick example of that? Rahm Emanuel literally served in the IDF, a foreign army. And then he was a chief of staff to Barack Obama. The chief of staff to the president is the second most powerful position in the country. They're the gatekeepers for power. No one gets to see the president without the chief of staff. The chief of staff plans the agenda and decides what the president sees and doesn't see, okay? And our chief of staff was in a foreign army.
That's
mental. Imagine if he was in the Russian army, the Chinese army, any army. But for Israel, nothing but special exception, special exception, special exemption. They could do anything they want. They're above the law, but don't say it, because if you do, we're gonna smear you and try to ruin your life.
So look, we should get to know this US attorney, okay? Because last month, more than 100 retired judges signed a letter objecting to Trump's appointment of her, calling her unqualified and citing her well-documented history of racist remarks, conspiracy theories, and threats of violence. Interesting, okay. So she just recently deactivated her X account after the story of her letting an Israeli official who might be a disgusting pedophile who rapes American children go. And so before she deactivated it, got some screenshots of the types of commentary she has in regard to the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Here's an example. No statehood ever for these animals. Netanyahu needs to start acting like a Churchill instead of a Chamberlain and wipe Gaza off the map.
So we literally have a genocidal freak, a Nazi, as the US attorney in Nevada. I mean, how is that conscionable? Imagine if she said the same exact thing about the Israelis. Same word for word. We need to wipe Tel Aviv off the map, okay? These Jewish animals need to be wiped out. Well, obviously we'd say, no, a Nazi cannot serve as the US attorney in Nevada. She says the same exact thing about Muslims, not a peep.
Not a peep, and by the way, she loves that line. She's repeated it over and over again on her X account. Here's another example, wipe Gaza off the map. Let's go to the next one. She writes, this one just blows my mind because she acknowledges that she wants to slaughter the children in Gaza. There are 2 million terrorists in Gaza. Remember, more than 50% of the population in Gaza under the age of 18. Okay, but she knows that. So she says, it's not just those carrying rifles and wearing green headbands. She's referring to Hamas. The so-called uninvolved civilians are not uninvolved at all. So slaughter all of them, all 2 million of them. She's a loathsome, disgusting human being. And obviously she doesn't care about the well-being of children, whether they're American or Gazan. She also wrote-
and by the way, in that tweet, if you notice, she said even the children are part of this.
Yeah, that's right.
So she's like, let's murder 1 million children, and she's the attorney general in a US state.
She's vile, okay? Here's another example. Oh, 33,000 Palestinians have been killed. Well, that's too bad. They would have had 0 Palestinians killed if they would have released the hostages on October 8th. We all know that's not true.
That's not remotely true.
They want to live by the sword, they can die by the sword.
No, you guys want to live by the sword. All you do is bomb people and light them on fire. You crush them, you kill them, you starve them. Now, what if somebody had said the exact opposite? Israel wants to live by the sword, they should all die by the sword. Who cares about 33,000 innocent Israelis being butchered? Would they remain in job? Remember when Charlottesville, when they said the Jews will not replace us? That was horrific. Everybody condemned it. I condemned it. Everybody condemned it to no end. And of course you should. What kind of Nazis say that, right? Now they're saying it about the Muslims, but they're actually in the government.
Yeah.
They're in, and then a pedophile Israeli comes in, and he's like, she's like, you're helping murder Palestinian children. You're free to go. You're free to go. Americans, go to jail. You're not Israeli. You go to jail, Israeli. Go off you go. Go slaughter more Palestinians. Kill their babies.
Again, this is a guy who got caught attempting to have sex with a minor in a sting operation, attempting to rape an American girl. Doesn't care. This woman doesn't care about the well-being of American children when she's willing to let this guy go. Now she's trying to blame everyone else. She's lashing out about it. So I'll go to the post that she had recently where she says a liberal district attorney and state court judge in Nevada failed to require an alleged child molester to surrender his passport. You are the US attorney, the acting US attorney. You are more powerful, okay, than
why didn't you demand it?
Yeah, this is on you. And she doesn't want to take responsibility. And by the way, making this like a partisan issue is hilarious to me.
Yeah, hey, Sigal Chitad, did you go into court or send anybody into court to say he must surrender his passport? He's a flight risk, he works for a foreign government, and we caught him doing something terrible. Did you do that? Oh no, you didn't. You freaking helped him fly out the country, didn't you? Didn't you? Now you're trying to blame other people.
So local station KLAS reported that Alexandrovich did not appear before a judge and posted bond before his state entitled probable cause hearing and before prosecutors filed a criminal complaint against him, meaning no judge could put any added restrictions on his release, records indicated.
Oh, so it is 100% the prosecutor's fault.
That's exactly right.
And not the judge's fault at all. Does she work for this country? It's a super legitimate question. Does she work for this country or a different country?
Well,
I mean, we used to have laws against treason. Look, I'm not talking about the penalties. I'm not even close to that.
I just want her out.
Can we not have a Nazi as an attorney general in this country, in any state? Can we not have someone who says, yeah, if you're gonna rape children, if you're an Israeli, get out of jail free card, get out of jail. I mean, right, as long as she stays attorney general in Nevada, every pedophile in Israel is gonna be like, oh my God, I gotta go get a ticket, right?
Yeah, free
I could rape anyone I like, and then the Israeli attorney general is gonna let me go. But my idiot American accomplices, they'll probably get life in prison. Look guys, there's a petition in the description box. There's no ands, ifs, or buts to this story. Either we get the son of a bitch back and put him in prison, or give him a fair trial, right? Either that happens and extradition happens, and that's what we're asking for. The link is in the description box. So that's a different one, it's okay. No, not that one, guys, it's okay. We'll put the right one in, okay? Either he goes into prison and is extradited from Israel, or if he's not extradited from Israel, that means we shouldn't allow any Israelis to come here. I'm dead serious, because that means they have a get out of jail free card. They could commit any crime in America, just run away to Israel, and we never get them back.
Finally, I want to give credit to a Republican lawmaker who is willing to say things that I haven't really seen Democrats willing to say. I mean, I don't know what world I'm living in, but Marjorie Taylor Greene is absolutely killing it by telling the truth on this issue. She posted on X 2 recent decisions made by the State Department, both involve children. We need to be the America that allows war-torn children to come here for life-saving surgeries, and the America that never releases a foreign child sex predator that our great law enforcement officials caught. But in this circumstance, those war-torn children from Gaza and this foreign child sex predator is from Israel and works directly for Netanyahu. Let me guess, would it be anti-Semitic to drag Netanyahu's cyber executive director back and prosecute this POS to the full extent of the law, and at the same time let Palestinian kids who had their limbs and bodies blown apart receive surgeries in America? There was more to that post, but that was the gist of it. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't care what anyone has to say about me for supporting you in your efforts here. I commend you. She's a person, she's a real person. Say what you will about Marjorie Taylor Greene, at least she's a real human being and not a freaking robot, not a puppet, someone who knows the difference between right and wrong when it comes to this incredibly important issue. And I'm glad that she's saying the quiet parts out loud. Our Democratic lawmakers aren't doing it. What do you stand for if you're a Democratic lawmaker? I need to know.
So when I had Marjorie Taylor Greene on this show, some folks said, oh, she'll never actually do the right thing. Well, here she is doing the right thing, okay? And she's blocked bills that were going to say that you can't criticize Israel in America, etc. So here's my question. Look, I didn't have Marjorie Taylor Greene being a hero on this issue on my bingo card. I knew that some on the right would turn on Israel. I said it even before the administration began. But Marjorie Taylor Greene. But look, that is why populism is always better than the establishment. Because the establishment is full of fake robot actors. They're all lying to you, and they're trying to get you to bow your head to all the donors, not just Israel, but to all the donor class, mainly corporations, okay? So when you have human beings with all their giant flaws, like Marjorie Taylor Greene has, right? And mistakes that they make, etc. I'll take a human over a robot any day.
Same.
And we'll fight her on the things we disagree on, but look at her being a human on things that we agree on. Okay, now, my main question is, where the hell are the Democrats? Now, I get it, all their leadership is corrupt, right? So #1 donor to Chuck Schumer's AIPAC, #1 donor to Hakeem Jeffries' AIPAC. Kathleen Clark, the #2 Democrat in the House today, apologized for calling it a genocide in Israel. She begged for forgiveness from her donors. Oh, I'm so sorry, Israel. I meant you could murder any Palestinians you want as long as the check clears. So I'm not talking about their leadership. Their leadership is disgusting, okay? They're just as corrupt as Republican leadership. Trump, Mike Johnson, all of them, #1 donor Israeli lobby throughout their careers, all corrupt. But I don't get it. I'm not trying to call anybody out, but AOC, Rashida Tlaib, if you guys did a joint press conference, I don't know, maybe they don't know this.
AOC's terrible on this topic.
Okay, but hold on.
Keeping it 100.
Hold on though, but for God's sake, do you not know this? If AOC and Marjorie Taylor Greene did a press conference together about this issue, or these two issues, it would get a world of attention. Everyone would have to look at that press conference. What's stopping you from reaching out to Marjorie Taylor Greene as she's reaching out to our side?
Yeah.
What the hell is stopping you? What is wrong with you? Why is she the one who's the champion of this? And the second person that's second best on this, honestly, is Tom Massey.
Yes.
Where are you guys? I'm not trying to criticize Rashida Tlaib. I'm sure her heart is broken. She's a Palestinian American and did some good things in the beginning, but why don't you grab this opportunity? Do something for God's sake, and defy your stupid, deeply corrupt leadership. Who cares about your stupid leadership? Your leadership are the bad guys.
I mean, the leadership is walking you off a cliff. So,
but hey, you know what? You might want to get their permission first. And it might hurt your brand if you work with Marjorie Taylor Greene. It might hurt your brand. Okay, get up and fight back. There's a child rapist that Israel says they're not going to return. They even denied that he was that official in the beginning because they're giant liars. Are you ever going to protect us?
All right, when we come back, we're gonna switch gears entirely, talk a little bit about what the State Department has done in revoking student visas. How many are we talking about and for what reason? Come back, I'll give you all the details.
All right, so you got a message for John Idarola?
Tell him to be nice to me.
They interact with our intelligence agencies that we don't want to disobey. There is something rotten in Washington.
And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
All those congressmen you just saw there are on the record as protecting the child rapists who were clients of Epstein. They have not prosecuted a single person outside of Epstein and Maxwell?
Yep.
Not one.
Is Trump engaging in this cover-up because he's in the Epstein files?
I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff.
So as the government keeps telling us, yeah, there's other people. Yeah, they raped those girls. So what? We're gonna cover up for them. But why are you guys so mad?
A nation that chooses impunity for the rich and the powerful at the expense of our children is a nation that has lost its moral purpose. Are you on the side of the people? Are you on the side of America's children? Or are you on the side of the rich and powerful who've had their thumb on the scales and shafted Americans for decades?
The rest of the news media says you should not fight for positive change. If you do, you're not really a reporter or a journalist, because reporters and journalists don't care what happens. I don't agree. That's not written anywhere. That's not a law. It's just a rule that they invented so that reporters didn't actually challenge the people that are in power. Well, we don't agree with that. We think we should challenge the people in power, that actually makes you a better journalist, not a worse one. In a media landscape poisoned by corporate influence, only one show stands apart from the rest, The Young Turks. As the longest running daily news show on the internet, The Young Turks is an impactful voice of unfiltered truth, one you can trust to deliver the daily news with authenticity and honesty. For nearly 2 decades, TYT has been breaking the mold of media. We're not here to echo the powerful or the elite, we're here to challenge them. Our mission is to give you accurate news, fight the establishment, and cover stories that mainstream media keeps you in the dark about, which matter to your everyday life. We've remained a leader in online news because of our established credibility with an engaged audience looking for alternative media that represents the real concerns of everyday Americans. Listen to The Young Turks, a news show that only answers to you on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
How do you know if you're a populist? Easy. Do you work for the donor class? You don't? Great, you're a populist. Okay, so the establishment takes money from the donors and serves the donors. A mainstream media takes money from advertisers, and they are giant corporations themselves, and they work for themselves, and they work for the powerful. If you care about the average person, and you want the average person to have better health care, better wages, a better life, and you hate corruption, congrats, you're a populist.
This earth warming and carbon is actually healthy for us.
Back on TYT, Cenk, Anna, and War Thug 13 and Carlos Harder. War Thug 13 actually upgraded his membership through the join button. You could do likewise too, and Carlos came in at a higher level. Guys, we really appreciate you doing that, because no joke, man, it's super hard for us to do this show without any of like the institutional things that normally come with media. Like for a show the size of ours, we should be making a lot more money. But that is blocked by a lot of institutional forces. So without you guys, we wouldn't be here. So I appreciate all of you. You could also do it at tyt.com/join. But you also drive the people in power crazy. because the longer you keep us on air, the more we keep telling the truth and they keep getting exposed. All right, Anna.
All right, let's talk about student visas getting revoked.
I'll see your resume. You may be a great candidate. Then I'll find that you were doing this or fighting the police or whatever it was. I'll put that resume on the left into the garbage because I know I can find someone else just as good as you, of which there are tens of thousands of candidates, that didn't participate in this. You are trashing your future. It's being shot on 1080p and 4K video and from surveillance cameras with extremely high resolution in low light conditions, including retinal scanning. This is what's happened with AI.
Well, those are the types of threats student protesters were met with after they were horrified to learn of the ongoing genocide in the Gaza Strip carried out by the Israeli military. And not only did they face those threats from the business community, which could have totally destroyed their futures post-college, international students who took part would be labeled as terrorists by our own federal government and have their student visas revoked. Now, I give you that background because the State Department has announced that they've revoked student visas for more than 6,000 international students, claiming that foreign students who had their visas revoked either broke the law in some way or were found to be supporters of terrorism. So this is based on exclusive reporting over at the BBC. They wanted to understand which students are having their visas revoked, how many international students have had their visas revoked, and here's what they've learned. So of the 6,000 visas that were revoked, the State Department alleges that 4,000 were due to the student visitors essentially breaking laws. The agency said that the vast majority of the violations were assault, driving under the influence, burglary, and support for terrorism. So again, we know that 4,000, according to the State Department, were for individuals who allegedly broke the law. Another 200 to 300 visas were revoked due to terrorism done under INA 3B, which refers to code that defines terrorist activity broadly as acts that endanger human life or violate US law. Really? We had 300 international students in the country that were engaged in support for terrorism that put our lives in jeopardy. You want to talk about the Israeli official who got let go after getting caught in a sting operation trying to have sex with a 15-year-old kid? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
So, look, guys, this is supporters of Israel saying, we own you. If you criticize Israel, we will make sure that you never work. I mean, Kevin O'Leary was super clear, right? We are going to do a terror campaign in America. If you criticize Israel for slaughtering children, we're going to put you on a blacklist of good people we'll never hire because we're all disgusting pigs who love genocide. That's Kevin O'Leary's list. That's Bill Ackman's list. We can get back to him in a minute. So now, on top of that, you have maimed Palestinian children who we paid to maim, right? And they barely survived, and they desperately need medical attention. But Laura Loomer said we should send them back. So let's invent reasons to send them back. Let's call people terrorists. Because you know what? The real, Israel has killed 60 times the number of civilians Hamas has. They're obviously a much worse terrorist organization. It's not even close. They've killed more than 500 times the number of children. They're disgusting terrorists in that government. But let's work for them. And if you criticize them or you've been maimed by them, we're gonna call you the terrorist. It's just truth on its head. It's George Orwell, 1984 defined. We're living in 1984.
So while the State Department did not specify what they meant by support for terrorism.
Of course they didn't. They meant Palestinian, Arab, or Muslim. Or, by the way, Christian Palestinians.
As we all know, the Trump administration has targeted some students who have protested in support of Palestine, which really, really ruffles the feathers of Benjamin Netanyahu and other figures within the Israeli
Kevin O'Leary
government.
and Bill Ackman and American businessmen who create blacklists of decent, moral people who they'll never hire because they don't want anybody moral working for them. I mean, if they're gonna go rob you on Wall Street, they don't want you to have any morals. So there's a little bit of logic actually to their lists.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of logic, but we have a constitution. Our constitution protects everyone within our borders, including students who are visa holders. So the idea that their political speech should be punished because it hurts the feelings of members of the business community or members of the Israeli government is pretty sick. Now, look, I would like further clarification from the State Department because they say that they've revoked 6,000 visas, 4,000 for individuals who broke the law. I have no problem with people having their visas revoked if they broke the law. Okay, but that leaves another, 2,000? And of those 2,000, 300 had their visas revoked due to support for terrorism, which I don't believe at all. What about the rest? So there's a lack of transparency here, and using student visas or revoking student visas as a form of punishment for political speech is a huge problem, especially if that's being directed by a foreign country. And again, we don't have enough clarity here. They gave the BBC some information. By the way, let's note that the BBC is an international news organization. I find it hilarious that American organizations haven't dug into this story to find the more granular details about the student visas being revoked. Now, Trump halted scheduling visa appointments for international students earlier this year, but he has reinstated the policy allowing for these student visas to be, for the applications to be looked into and allow for international students to come into the country. But it would require enhanced screening, including making any private social media accounts public, so the State Department can, read through it to make sure there's no support for the Palestinian people and nothing but support for Israel. They said that they would search for any indications of hostility toward the citizens, culture, government, institutions, or founding principles of the United States. State Department officers were also instructed to screen for those who advocate for, aid, or support designated foreign terrorists and other threats to national security, or who perpetuate unlawful anti-Semitic harassment or violence. And as we know, I mean, the simplest things are considered anti-Semitic in this country. Things like denouncing genocide, for instance, or having a corner store in New York City that's called the Gaza convenience store. I heard that a lot of people in New York City, Jewish New Yorkers, were very offended by that and they felt unsafe. I don't know what to say. Like, how are you gonna complain about feeling unsafe when you simply see the name of a corner store and it contains Gaza in it, when the country you support is bombing, maiming, and slaughtering children? Like, how tone deaf can people be? Anyway, that's the final thing I have to say about the story, but it's just sick.
Yeah, so look, guys, there are no movements to expel people who criticize Finland or Peru or major powers like Germany, Japan, China, Russia. There's no ally, enemy, it doesn't matter. There's only one country you're not allowed to criticize in America. And funny enough, it's not America. It's a different country, it's Israel. And we should be allowed to criticize America. Of course, we have freedom of speech here. But do we really have freedom of speech? Because if we speak, but it's about Israel, well, that's it, get out of here. You arrest, deport, take away their diplomas, terrorize them, make sure they never get a job, haunt them for the rest of their lives for being decent, moral human beings, etc. So we don't really, First Amendment, they should put an asterisk on it, unless you criticize Israel. And by the way, now the modern day definitions of anti-Semitism, as made up by a bunch of Israeli supporters that are totally trash, they mean nothing at all, are loaded with any criticism of Israel as anti-Semites.
Yeah, any criticism of a political ideology, Zionism, is considered anti-Semitic. Well,
why?
Why? I mean,
Zionism is let me take your land.
hold on.
And let me kill you and take your land.
So there are a ton of evangelical Christians who are Zionists. So like, let's stop pretending and let's stop conflating, okay, what Israel is doing with Judaism and Jews across the globe, because that conflation is intentional and I think defamatory to Jews across the globe.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I'm allowed to say anything I want about Zionism because it's America. There is no goddamn asterisks, no matter how much they want it. And what's hilarious and a sick joke is people like Bill Ackman and Alex Karp, the head of Palantir. I saw him give this giant speech over the weekend, listened to an hour of him, okay, talking about we're for freedom of speech.
Right.
But on college campuses, this is Alex Karp. They should not be allowed to speak. Bill Ackman writing letters that I mentioned earlier to Harvard and other places. How dare you? Get back in line, okay? No one should be allowed to criticize Israel. I mean, sure, Jews. By the way, why aren't people allowed to criticize anyone they like? What kind of new rule is this? No, it's so obvious. It's so obvious. Yeah. There's one country that controls us. It's not a people. There's nobody asked a Jewish American randomly, hey, Dave, what would you like us to do with the country? That's not how it works, okay? It is a foreign government, and there are people inside this country who love that foreign government and way more than they love our country. Yep. Way more, and say that we should all work for them. No, thank you.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk about Gavin Newsom getting props for acting more like Trump because we live in hell. And later in the show, we'll give you updates on the Epstein files.
Let's go to Super Chat. History Speaks says, if not for alt media, the US government would absolutely turn a blind eye to what Alexandrovich did. Oh, brother, there's no question about that. If there was no online media, you would have never heard of the Alexandrovich story. Right now, all the networks and all the cable news guys are actively hiding it. You think they didn't hear it? No, I guarantee you, every one of them in their morning meeting said, hey, should we do that crazy story about the Israeli who was let go even though he was trying to rape an American child? And they were all like, no. And if anybody covers it, make sure you call him an anti-Semite, okay? So mainstream media, what a joke. Their job is to lie to you. Okay, number 2, he wrote, and you guys need to research Jonathan Pollard, who sold classified info to Israel, and Trump pardoned, and then he was flown to Israel on Adelson's private jet.
Wow.
I mean, Miriam Adelson is rubbing it in our face. I'm inside your country working for Israel. I bought all your politicians. I bought your prosecutors. And I bought an Israeli spy his freedom and flew him back out. My attaboy, way to screw over America. Yeah, I love that you betrayed America. Here's your gift, a private jet and a pardon, okay? So Miriam Adelson's an obvious traitor to this country. I mean, she's pampering a spy, and a dirty spy who stole from us and gave to her country, Israel. Don't pretend you're an American. Anyway, Miriam Adelson, the Adelsons are disgusting. Disgusting, that is my opinion, okay? And American media, oh, who are the Adelsons? I don't know. What's $337 million? I bet that I'm gonna talk about all of Trump's golf and this and that and all of Trump emoluments clause and blah, blah, blah. But they just can't find them, the Adelsons. They're like, oh, Israeli lobby, I can't see it. Come on, you guys. Anyway, soon they'll all be wiped out anyway. I'm so glad. I hope all of them, all the cable news networks, all the networks are wiped out. And I hope that scourge of lies and propaganda never returns. Save AP, Reuters, Text, Guardian, Drop Site News, actual real reporting. 0083 says, our government is disgusting and they love pedos and they will let pedophiles go from foreign countries go. We are in hell. Tiny Dog Dragon says, I was born and raised by the same Christians that are waiting for the end of days. 15 or so years ago, I learned that Israel is not the victim. Wish others could see the same. No cable news for me. Look, man, if they didn't buy those evangelical leaders, they are so lucky. I mean, they tripped over the greatest fortune by having all the evangelical leaders in this country make up a portion of the Bible that just doesn't exist. And say, oh yeah, first you got for Jesus to come back, you have to murder all the Muslims first. Create greater Israel, wink, 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 wink. And all the Christians should work for Israel. All the Christians should give all their money to Israel. Man, they caught a lucky break with that one. Or maybe our evangelical leaders also corrupt? Okay, Michael Lamount Sr. says, any chance of getting a dual American Palestinian flag car magnet? We'll work on that, brother, absolutely. Linda Martinson says, when the world seems crazy, you need to find your people who speaks truth to power about the things you care about. So thank you for always speaking out about Palestine. Linda, thank you for supporting us. Can't do it without you. We all do this together. Thank you, we'll be back. Back on TYT, Jake and Anna with you guys. But don't worry, guys, only half an hour away from Operation Joy. So the mood is gonna change completely when we get there. That's for the members, good time to join them. TYT.com/join. All right, Anna.
I feel like we are headed for an iceberg that is unavoidable. And nothing makes that clearer than the admiration Gavin Newsom is getting for behaving like Donald Trump. Okay, so let's get to the details here. For a little over a week now, California Governor Gavin Newsom has been posting in the style of President Donald Trump. And he's getting a lot of admiration for it. So he's basically engaging in this trolling campaign, and he's been very successful with it on X. Many of those posts have actually racked up tens of thousands of likes. And look, it does play well in the paradigm of left versus right. When you see politics as team sports and nothing more than tribal politics, you want your side to own the other side, troll the other side, to own the libs, to own the right. That's what this feeds into. It has nothing to do with substance. It has nothing to do with how much of a circus California has been under the leadership of Gavin Newsom. It has everything to do with getting brownie points for trolling the other side. So with that in mind, he wrote the following recently. So Governor Newsom press office on X, that's the account that we're talking about, began posting in the same type of tone that you would expect from Donald Trump, all caps, you get the picture, let's take a look. Again, this is all caps. Donald Trump, if you do not stand down, we will be forced to lead an effort to redraw the maps in California to offset the rigging of maps in red states. So obviously this has to do with the redistricting attempts in Texas, which will probably go through. But if the other states call off their redistricting efforts, we will do the same. Thank you for your attention to this matter with an exclamation mark. Okay, so he's making fun of Trump when he posts in all caps. As you can see, that got 96,000 likes. All right, let's go to the next one. In the days since, the account has continued to write in Trump-inspired ways. Final warning, Donald Trump, maybe the most important warning in history. Stop cheating or California will redraw the maps. And guess who will announce it this week? Gavin Newsom, many say the most loved. I can't repeat that. Do you want to read it?
Yeah, the most loved and handsome governor and a very powerful team. Don't make us do it. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
And then there was another one. This one is kind of funny because it's so random. I hate Kid Rock. Gavin Christopher Newsom, which is GCN. Anyway, so that account is also taking some time to dunk on other conservatives. So on Saturday, Tommy Lahren wrote the following. The saddest thing about this is Gavin and his team of beta males, 2016 called, they want your lingo, they want their lingo back, but okay, who sit down to pee, actually think they're trolling the president and actually think this is making Gavin look like a badass. you got to feel for those California boys. I don't know if it's the weed or the gender neutral bathrooms, but something is wrong over there. To which Newsom's press office responded with, Tommy's account is basically Yelp for toilets now. Okay, fine, that is pretty funny.
Okay, so no, I'm definitely in favor of it.
I knew it, I know. But Jay.
No.
If this was happening, if this was coupled with a politician of substance who really is killing it with his leadership, okay, I'm totally in favor of it. But what this does is it masks his failures, you know? I'm worried about, I just want someone that I can back, someone I can support, someone who actually wants to change things for the better in this country. And Gavin Newsom ain't it. I'm just keeping it real, okay. Democrats. I know you guys want a hero. He's not your hero, trust me. But anyway, go ahead, Jake.
All right, so that's why we're asking on TYT.com, would you support Gavin Newsom for Democratic nominee for president? Yes, I like that he's fighting for us.
Oh, I love this audience so much. I love you guys.
B, and no, I think he's a phony. C, no establishment Democrat is a guaranteed loss. Okay, so that's the one that's winning right now. Okay, guys, look, so here's my nuanced opinion on this. I like what he's doing here. I think it's relatively effective. No, I don't think it's beta. No, I don't think he sits when he.
There's nothing wrong with sitting when you pee. Please don't splash your urine all over my toilet.
No, but that's what's so funny about it, because I'm neutral on that issue. I couldn't care less. But like for them, that's like a thing. Like real men spray the whole bathroom, okay? Not these weak beta males that are like respectful of others. No, I pee all over the bathroom. Okay.
Oh my God.
All right, good for you. You seem very manly. Okay, anyway, I can't wait for it to get to women. All right, so look, bottom line is, this is style. And I had two different complaints about Democrats throughout these 20 years, some odd years that we've been doing the show, right? One is style, like they were like, let's be civil. I speak 6 languages. And you weren't gonna win that way, and we were right about that. So now this is the establishment Democrats surrendering and saying, yes, Young Turks was right. It's better to actually fight back, be aggressive, and yes, sometimes be playful, sometimes get in the dirt. Oh, well, I wouldn't want to spoil your elitist French laundry clothes, right? So now he's realizing, I got to get in the mud a little bit, right? So great, I'm happy to get that. Now the second part's even more important, substance, right?
Yes.
So now that's where I believe that Gavin Newsom is just, as I told you guys after the election, they're gonna take all these corporate robots in for to clean up, right? A refresher. So they're like, okay, now computing. I am now troll Gavin. Ha, you are a beta. Ha, I will write in caps. Okay, I hear you, brother, but actions speak louder than words.
Your state has the highest unemployment rate in the entire country. I'm not kidding. California is tied with Nevada for the highest percentage of unemployed Americans. The state is struggling under his leadership. I'm not making it up, and I'm not like, Anna's a secret alt-right winger, and she's actually, nefariously against the Democrats. No, I live in California. I have experienced his terrible leadership, and by the way, the Liberal Patriot, I think it's Liberal Patriot, I should know. Yeah, the Liberal Patriot, who I'm a paid subscriber to, because I actually really appreciate his nuanced takes. He wrote a piece recently that I thought was fantastic. Democrats can do better than Gavin Newsom, and he explains why, okay? So actually, Michael Baharine is the individual who wrote this piece. Democrats would do well not to allow their anger at Trump to get the better of them, to not simply back a candidate with many of his own vulnerabilities just because he is willing to throw punches at Republicans. A polling tracker from Decision Desk HQ showed his national favorability deeply underwater at the end of the year. Fully 49.2% of Americans viewed him unfavorably against just 27% who viewed him favorably. And by the way, these people are accurate, okay? It wasn't long ago that he was struggling at home as well, back in June, without Trump serving as a clear foil for him. A poll from UC Irvine put Newsom's approval rating at only 38%. Moreover, 54% of Californians in that survey, including a sizable majority of independents and even a small plurality of Democrats, believe Newsom was more focused on his presidential ambitions than on fixing the state, because it's just demonstrably true that that's been the case. So look, I get it. Like, Democratic voters desperately want a leader to the opposition to Donald Trump. I totally get that. I get that urge. At the same time, we need to tread carefully, because if there's this effort to uplift a guy who's been a complete and utter failure in the state of California, he is very vulnerable, by the way. He is a target-rich environment. The trolling is fun, but how about opt for someone who has substance, ideas, and can also do the trolling on top of it?
Yeah, so look, let me address the substance a little bit and then get back to Gavin as a candidate. So number one, we spent $24 billion on addressing homelessness in California, and homelessness went up 53%. So, I mean, and when you ask him where's the money, he's like, it's an offensive question.
Unaccounted for.
No, not offensive. We need to know what you spent the money on, because it obviously didn't work. So we don't want to go back in that direction. We have to have lessons learned. He doesn't believe in accountability. How much money did you take from PG&E, and did it affect your decision not to force them to bury their wires? That is the number one cause of wildfires in California.
Yeah.
So these are real things, guys. And so we're not picking on Gavin Newsom randomly. What we have seen throughout his career is he works for the donor class, right? So Gavin 1.0 was basically code name French Laundry, right? So that's a fancy a restaurant in California where he met with the donors unmasked during COVID while he was doing mask mandates, okay? Okay, the hypocrisy is an important part of that story, but to me, the more important part is he'll do anything for donors, right? And so then Gavin 2.0, if you remember in the beginning, was MAGA friendly. Like he was copying people like us, but without any of the substance. So when we went to go talk to, whether it was Charlie Kirk or Patrick Bet-David or Tim Pool or eventually Tucker Carlson, Glenn Beck, et cetera, what we did was we tried to find common ground on the left-wing issues.
Exactly.
Right, anti-war, anti-corruption, et cetera. So we fight on the things we don't agree on, but if you're coming in our direction, as Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example, did and Tucker Carlson did on the issue of Israel, right? Then great, we're happy, Epstein files, et cetera. You come in our direction, we're very happy, right? But Gavin, since he was just like computing, he's like, Steve Bannon, let us have a friendly dialogue. I will not challenge you on anything. But brother, no, you're not getting it. So then they took him back to the shop. Now we have Gavin 3.0, which is Trump fighter. I'll troll him right back. But don't you see the transition one after another? So who's the real Gavin Newsom? So guys, keep your eye on the prize. Who passed bills? So why were we so excited about Tim Walz? I don't think he got a fair hearing in this presidential run. And I don't know if he's the right guy going forward. But the reason I was excited and why I'd consider him again is because he passed a lot of good bills in Minnesota that helped the average citizen in Minnesota. That matters. That's what's important. When you ask Gavin Newsom, I don't know where the money went. I don't know why we have a bad record. I don't know why there's so many wildfires. I'm not going to tell you about the checks I take from PG&E or for many of my donors. No, brother. So like I like the substance. Last thing on this. They're like, we gotta vote for Gavin Newsom because he's the only Democrat fighting back. I'm like, wait, why aren't other Democrats fighting back? Why is the party so pathetic that they found one guy and they're like, oh, someone decided to fight the other side, as if that's like some sort of big revelation. Shouldn't you all be fighting the other side? And by the way, of course there are others. Ro Khanna fights them way more effectively and doesn't get a quarter of the credit. And that's because mainstream media loves corporate candidates like Gavin Newsom.
All right, let's take our final break. When we come back, an update on the Epstein files and the shenanigans over at the DOJ.
All right, Let's go TYT.com members. 36 Chambers Dragon says, I love you all, TYT. It's too heavy right now for me to be on live all the time. I resubscribed my producer level a little while back, and I'm proud to be back at that level. I hated the View and Fox constant videos, and that's why I downgraded. But I've seen a strength and a shift again that I saw back in 2012 as a new member. Cenk, Anna, JR, John, and the best community in the world made me realize again that we are the best in the whole world to fight for everyone. No BS, this community and hosts are extremely selfless, and I have grown as a better human because of this community. That's a wonderful thing to say, brother. I appreciate you for that. And my favorite part of that is what you're saying about the community. Because one of us by ourselves ain't gonna get anything done, okay? Even two of us, oh, okay, whatever Anna and I do, no way it's gonna be enough. It's gotta be a community, because without the community, we wouldn't even be here. Literally, the show wouldn't exist. You wouldn't even know about us, right? So it's that community that lifted us up, and I love the way you guys lift each other up. That's why we do things like Operation Joy and Operation Hope. So thank you for noticing that, and thank you for backing it. Boomer Dragon Cat says, the haves don't seriously consider the have-nots as intelligent, important, or even fully human in many cases. We are expendable commodities like everything else. I fear this is more of a universal truth than we'd like to admit. Yeah, I gotta back that up, Kat. And she's making a general point. We talked a lot about Israel in the show, but it's not just that at all. Yeah, the elites in this country, they think because of their education, they genuinely believe they are smarter and better at setting policy than the riffraff, than the masses. The masses don't know anything. They don't watch MSNBC and read the New York Times as well as the educated elite do, right? And they really think that that gives them a huge advantage. But what they don't get is they're looking at it from their perspective, not everyone's perspective. And they're like, I am educated elite, and I know that everything is great for me now. And the status quo is wonderful. That's why we should maintain it. But the masses don't know that. No, brother, it's not great for the masses. Your perspective is wrong. But that educated elite status gives them an unbearable arrogance. And then they lord that over you. So Kat, that feeling you have is actually correct. They do genuinely believe that. And it depends. If it's a good guy, they mean it and they don't realize they mean it, right? And they don't mean the bad parts, like not fully human, but they do mean not that, oh, I'm smarter than people. They almost all believe that.
Honestly, right? Those are the people that conservatives refer to as the liberal elitist, right? They kind of shroud themselves in good doer, identity, but they do so in a way that makes it appear as though they're looking down their noses at people, and you got to be aware of that.
100%. And then there are the bad guys who don't think you're fully human.
Right.
And Nerd Ferguson says, my retired 65+ parents watch MSNBC from sun up to sundown. We talk politics every week and bash the latest Trump news nonstop. Once I start mentioning things like the Adelsons and AIPAC, they're like, oh, I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah.
Of course, if you watch MSNBC, you'll know nothing about AIPAC. They did one segment on it. They let Ali Velshi do one weekend segment on it. They're still bragging about it years later. One segment. It's hilarious, right? All right, we'll be right back. TYT, Cenk, Anna, and Titan, thank you for sending in the 5 memberships. Anna.
Well, we've got some updates on the alleged potential release of the Epstein files, but the DOJ, they be playing.
The Justice Department is expected to miss today's deadline to comply with a subpoena for documents related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The chairman of the Congressional Committee investigating Epstein's sex trafficking case now says he expects those records by Friday. Yesterday, former Attorney General Bill Barr testified behind closed doors as the first witness in the committee's investigation. Chairman Jim Comer says Barr testified, quote, he didn't know anything about a client list and he had never seen anything that would implicate President Trump.
Bill Barr's father, who was part of the OSS, that was the intelligence organization prior to the CIA, was the one who hired Jeffrey Epstein to be a mathematics teacher at the prestigious Dalton School when he was a college dropout. Anyway, now the DOJ has been facing a ton of blowback over its handling of the Epstein files, and their latest shenanigans isn't likely to help them avoid additional criticism. So the House Oversight Committee is moving forward with its own investigation into the matter. That's what the video you just viewed was about. However, it is unclear how much information this investigation is really going to get to the American people. Here are some more details on it.
Really not clear what they're going to get in the way of new information from these high-level officials. I think that what I'll be watching for is whether their testimony leads them to open up new lines of inquiry. It's really unclear, for instance, why they didn't subpoena former FBI Director Chris Wray among all of the former attorneys general and former FBI directors that they did subpoena. It's also unclear why they didn't subpoena former Attorney General Gonzalez, who was actually the Attorney General at the time that Jeffrey Epstein inked his so-called sweetheart plea deal. I think that really what we want to see is, and what people want answers for, is how law enforcement and federal law enforcement in particular failed to properly prosecute and pursue actual investigative leads when they were given so many tips and investigative leads from witnesses and other victims of Epstein. I think that is really going to be the key thing, and I think everybody is also going to want to know whether there's any information that leads down a path that the Justice Department says it's pursuing as to whether any high-profile individuals who knew of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes or his victims are going to be implicated. But I think that is, again, something that the Justice Department says is kind of a road that is not worth going down.
And again, today was the DOJ's deadline to respond to the subpoena to turn over important documents to the House Oversight Committee. They missed the deadline, and Comer says in a statement that the DOJ just needs more time to hand everything over. I'm sure they'll get that to you right away, sir, right away.
Sure.
Yeah, and at this point, it seems the DOJ is doing whatever it can to essentially keep things secret. I've kind of given up hope that we're gonna get any clarity on the Epstein files whatsoever. But let's talk a little bit about the conflict within the DOJ, Cenk, because there was allegedly a pretty heated argument last month between Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino over the administration's handling of the Epstein files. Now, while Bongino didn't resign as he threatened to do so, according to reports, it seems that Pam Bondi is already vetting replacements for Bongino. And the latest on this is that Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel have in fact announced that Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey will be appointed as co-deputy director for the FBI. In a statement, Bondi writes, "I am thrilled to welcome Andrew Bailey as co-deputy director of the FBI. He has served as a distinguished attorney general for Missouri and is a decorated war veteran, blah, 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 blah." You get the point. And just as a reminder, last month it was reported that there was a major fallout between the FBI and the DOJ over the handling of the Epstein files. According to Axios at the time, Bongino was taking the blame for not catching that missing minute in the surveillance video from the prison Epstein was being held at. The administration released the footage, and Bongino insisted that the video proves Epstein didn't kill himself. And one of Axios' sources, who is a member of the Trump administration, stated that Bongino found the video with the missing minute. He vouched for it after a thorough review, he said, and he thought this would end the matter. When that didn't work, he lost his mind and ran out of DC. It does seem like the individual that was just announced by Pam Bondi is likely going to be a replacement for Bongino. That's the way I'm kind of reading this story. What do you think, Cenk?
So there's a lot of mysteries, and what Bongino will do once he's out of government is the biggest one of all. Given this one statement that he said that was super interesting about things that he's seen that shocked the conscience. But there are things that are clear. So he's being replaced. So I've covered politics long enough to know that when they bring in someone that does the same job as you, as your deputy, you're a goner. You're just training him so he can take your job for you, and then they'll ease you out, right? So now, do I believe that Bongino is the one that missed the missing minute? No, I don't believe it. Could it be? Sure, it could be. But usually when you're about to sack someone, you'll bring in someone at his position, and then they'll start leaking to the press. And this is not just the government, the media and corporate world works like this. MSNBC did this to me. They'll start leaking irrelevant stuff about you. Like for me, it was like, oh, did you know his ratings were bad 6 months earlier? But wait, they're the best ratings MSNBC's ever gotten today. Oh, no, I want you to look 6 months ago. So now all of a sudden he's the one that missed the missing minute. Well, it turns out there was actually 3 minutes missing. They doctored that tape on purpose. So who's the one who doctored the tape? Because Bongino is not an expert on editing. So someone manipulated that tape and gave it to Bongino at a minimum. So how could it all be Bongino's fault?
Yeah.
So no, they're definitely covering up, and it appears that they're unhappy with how Bongino has been insufficiently helping their cover up. And that's a generous interpretation for Bongino, but that is kind of where it's looking right now. Like, now, don't get me wrong, he was a sweaty mess pretending that the Epstein has no clients, just along with Kash Patel. So we don't know anything if he's a good guy at all right now. For all we know, he's as bad as any of them, okay? So now, you know all these investigations are fake with, golly gee, we missed the deadline. I guess we'll get it to you 3 years from now, wink, right? And we left out the 2 guys that are most relevant, Chris Wray and Alberto Gonzalez.
Exactly.
What an oversight, golly gee willikers. I guess we'll get that next time. The whole thing is a sham, right?
Yeah.
So to me, that leaves only one question, which is when Bongino leaves, will he tell the truth or will he not? If he plays this game of like, oh, I wish I could tell you, but I can't, he's useless.
Yeah, 2 sources familiar with Bongino's position say he was increasingly displeased with Bondi's handling of the Epstein case because she had publicly overpromised and underdelivered disclosures about an Epstein client list that apparently never existed. Look,
what do you mean never existed?
No, I don't think there is a client list, but I think there are definitely documents implicating other elite individuals who raped underage girls. And by the way, what about the tapes?
No, guys,
Come on.
Look, this is like the Israel story because there's all sorts of distractions and squirrels and a hall of mirrors, okay? There's only one thing you need to focus on. Thousands of girls were victims. There are at least hundreds of people who did it. We know the reporters have talked to the victims. There are, okay, forget hundreds. There is absolutely no question. There are dozens and dozens of victims. They all say it was not just Epstein and Maxwell. Are they gonna, and they have not prosecuted a single other client. Okay, don't tell me that, oh, well, it wasn't a list, but it was a memo, or it wasn't a memo, it was a I don't care. I don't care what you call it. Are you going to prosecute them or are you not going to prosecute them?
They're not.
And they haven't gotten prosecuted on the Democrats or Republicans, and they're not going to get prosecuted. And by the way, not because my theory is not because they're so rich and powerful, but because an intelligence agency did it, and they're not going to reveal themselves. So that's why we're never going to find out. And that's the reality of it. And the rest of it is total trash, just lies meant to trick you. All right, Operation Joy is next for our members. You'll love it. And we got some great stories for you this time and a mantra as well. So hit that join button below or tyt.com/join and we'll see you there right now.